In this video, we're exploring overreactivity. Come walk with me through the forest. Let's slow down and make sense of it together. Okay, let's talk about something I think a lot of dog owners can relate to. That feeling, right? You're out for a walk, maybe everything's fine, and then suddenly your dog sees, I don't know, another dog, a bike, a squirrel.
And it's like a switch flips.
Exactly. They just explode, barking, lunging, maybe spinning around like crazy, and you're just standing there feeling completely embarrassed, frustrated, thinking, why won't you just listen?
It's such a common and honestly really stressful situation. If that sounds familiar, you're likely dealing with what we call an over-aroused or overexcited dog.
Aroused, okay.
And the absolute first thing to get is that this isn't really about the dog being stubborn or, deliberately disobedient. It's an emotional state. They're genuinely out of control in that moment.
And that can happen at any age, right? It's not just puppies.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You see it in 7-month-old dogs who haven't quite learned self-regulation yet, but you also see it in 10-year-old dogs who've maybe developed sensitivities over time. Age isn't the main factor here.
So what are the signs? Beyond the obvious, like lunging and barking, are there subtler things we should look out for?
Yeah, definitely. There are the classic ones you mentioned, the barking, the lunging, that high-pitched whining or screaming sound some dogs make. Being really grabby with treats is another one.
Grab you.
But sometimes it's less obvious, like nipping with just their front teeth, their incisors, maybe on the inside of your arm or thigh during play, but it's frantic. And counterintuitively, especially with some breeds, like herding breeds.
Border collies, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Sometimes they do the opposite. They might freeze completely or lock up or get incredibly slow, almost like they're ignoring you, but it's because their brain is just overloaded, swamped.
Okay, so if it's emotional, we can't just shout, sit, louder, and expect it to work. That seems key.
Precisely. You can't command an emotion away. Think about it like this. When a dog's in that state, they're operating from their back brain, the limbic system. It's all emotion reaction.
The fight or flight part.
Right. And the thinking part, the prefrontal cortex, where they process cues and make choices, it's basically offline. It's like trying to ask someone to do, complex algebra while they think they're about to parachute for the first time.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Their brain is flooded with adrenaline, cortisol, stress hormones. Their ability to even hear your cue, let alone respond appropriately, is pretty much zero.
That makes so much sense when you put it like that. The thinking brain is just offline. But still, it feels so natural to correct them, when you're frustrated yourself. Why is that such bad advice?
It's probably the worst advice, honestly, because you're trying to punish an emotional state, a physiological reaction. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire.
Right.
You might stop the outward behavior for a second, maybe, but you've actually just cranked up their internal stress levels. It doesn't solve the root problem.
And what about just demanding they be perfectly calm all the time? Is that realistic?
No, that's another piece of unhelpful advice. Trying to force a naturally high energy, maybe high drive dog into this perfectly subdued mold. It's like that square peg, round hole thing. It's just not fair to their nature, and it sets everyone up for failure.
Okay, and the third big one, just exercise them more. If my dog's bouncing off the walls, surely tiring them out helps. Why is just adding more running always the answer?
Well, it can be part of the picture if they genuinely aren't getting enough appropriate exercise, but if they already get, say, decent walks and playtime, just adding more mindless exercise, like chucking a ball for an extra hour, you risk just creating a fitter, overexcited dog. You're essentially practicing that high arousal state. They build stamina for being wired, so now they can be manic for longer. The exercise needs to be thoughtful, not just about burning calories.
Okay, so the goal isn't just to stop the excitement, but
and manage it. Exactly. It's twofold, really. We need to lower how exciting the situation feels to the dog, and we need to raise their ability to respond to us even when they are feeling excited. It's about conditioning calmness and responsiveness.
Right. Conditioning, not just commanding. So let's dive into the actionable stuff. You've boiled this down to some key actions people can take. Where do we start?
Okay, yeah. Let's get practical. First step, tip number 1. Examine the roots. And this is crucial. Do it without blaming the dog. It's almost never their fault.
What kind of roots are we digging for?
Several things. Genetics is one, acknowledging if you have a breed that's naturally high drive or sensitive, like as we said, Border Collies, Malinois, Jack Russells, you need to understand the blueprint.
Makes sense. What else?
Diet is a big one people often overlook. We're not just talking allergies here, but ingredients that can essentially act like rocket fuel.
Okay, interesting. Like what specifically? Should people be looking at labels?
Definitely check labels. Look for high levels of simple carbohydrates or sugars. Things like excessive corn, wheat, soy fillers, these can cause energy spikes and crashes. And also artificial stuff dyes, chemicals.
Like Red 40, I've heard about that.
Exactly. Things like Red 40 have been linked to hyperactivity in some sensitive individuals, and that includes dogs. Switching to a simpler, whole food-based diet, or at least checking for those additives, can sometimes make a surprising difference in their baseline energy levels.
Okay, diet. What else under breeds?
Early training or experiences matter. Did they have maybe too much unstructured chaos early on? Like constant, high-intensity dog park visits that taught them crazy greetings are normal. Or maybe training that focused only on speed without building impulse control.
Yeah.
And linked to this, which is tip number 2. Understand their innate frustration response. This is huge.
Frustration response. How does that play in?
When a dog gets frustrated, maybe they can't reach something or you're holding them back from greeting, they have a natural built-in reaction. Some dogs might get quiet or seem sad. That's suppression. Okay.
But the dogs we're often talking about here, they tend to have what's called an invigorated response. They actually get more active. They might look happy, bouncing, tail wagging, but it's their way of coping with the frustration. It can even escalate towards, like, persistence or sometimes what looks like rage.
Wow. So that bouncing might not be joy, it could be pure frustration.
It absolutely could be.
Yeah.
And if you correct them, then you're essentially punishing their natural way of dealing with a frustrating situation that often we created by putting them in it.
That really changes perspective. Okay, so we've looked at genetics, diet, history, frustration. What's next? Before we start actively training new stuff.
Tip number 3, identify and avoid triggers, like really systematically. Make a list. What reliably sends your dog over the edge? Is it other dogs, people on bikes, kids running, the doorbell?
Be specific.
Be very specific.
Okay.
And then for the big ones, the ones that cause major meltdowns, you need to commit to avoiding them as much as humanly possible, maybe for weeks or even months, while you build up foundation skills. Why is avoidance so important? Isn't that just dodging the problem?
Because every time the dog practices that over-the-top reaction, they're strengthening those neural pathways. They get better at freaking out. We need to stop the rehearsals. The goal is to keep them under threshold, below that point where their thinking brain switches off.
Okay, under threshold, that's the zone where they can still learn.
Exactly. If a trigger is totally unavoidable, like maybe people walking past your front window, then we use the conditioning steps we'll talk about. But otherwise, manage the environment aggressively to prevent those meltdowns while you're building skills.
Got it. So manage the environment, understand the roots. Now what about us? What's our role in this?
A critical piece. Tip number 4, you must be the calm anchor. In any stressful situation, someone needs to be calm, and, well, it has to be the human.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, definitely. Which is why you need to proactively develop your own calming techniques. Personal anchors you can use instantly.
Like what? Any examples?
A really effective one I recommend is the breathing anchor. Practice this when you're already relaxed, maybe after meditation or just sitting quietly. Take a deep, slow breath in. As you hold it for a second, squeeze your hands into tight fists. Then, as you breathe out slowly, consciously relax your hands.
Okay. Breathe in, squeeze, breathe out, release.
Yep. Practice that association, deep breath, and release equals calm. Do it repeatedly when you're already calm. Then, when you're out and about and feel that stress rising because your dog is starting to react, you deploy your anchor. Breathe, squeeze, release. It can genuinely help drop your own stress from, like, a 10 down to a 5 or 6.
Just enough to think clearly again.
Exactly. Enough to guide your dog constructively instead of just reacting emotionally alongside them.
That leads nicely into tip 5, which feels related. Remove all blame and punishment.
Yes, completely. Eliminate verbal corrections? No, stop it. Bad dog. Eliminate physical corrections like leash pops or collar corrections, period.
Why is this non-negotiable?
Because, as we discussed, the dog is in an emotional, chemical state. They aren't choosing to disobey. Punishment just adds fear and confusion, making the underlying emotional state worse, even if it suppresses the behavior temporarily. And think about that frustration response. You might be punishing a natural reaction.
What about things like timeouts in dog sports, if the dog gets frantic?
That's a good point. Even things like yanking the dog off the agility course or putting them in a crate as a timeout when they get over threshold. It often comes from a place of blaming the dog. But usually it means we, the handlers, didn't prepare them adequately for that environment or didn't manage the triggers well enough. We need to shift the focus from blame to better preparation and management.
Okay, so we're calm, we're not blaming. Now we can start building some positive skills. What's tip 6?
Tip 6. Condition a calm anchor behavior for the dog. We need a specific action or cue that means, let's settle down now.
Like a calm down command.
Sort of, but it's conditioned rather than commanded. A great example is the collar grab. Many dogs get tense when their collar is grabbed because it often means something unpleasant is about to happen, like being pulled away. We want to flip that association.
How do we do that?
You practice it when things are calm. Gently reach out and take hold of the collar. Immediately, like the instant your fingers close, give a super high value treat, something amazing.
Okay, collar grab is amazing treat.
Then, while still holding gently, maybe give a long, slow stroke down their body. Then use a quiet, calm release word like okay or free and let go. Repeat this many times in calm settings.
So the dog starts thinking, oh, collar grab means good stuff and calmness.
Precisely. It becomes a cue for relax, good things are coming.
Yeah.
It can interrupt that rising panic. It might not instantly make them perfectly calm. Maybe it takes them from a level 10 stress down to a 7 or 8. But that little drop can create a window for you to redirect them.
I like that. Okay, what's tip 7? It relates back to exercise, right?
Yes. Tip 7. Make exercise thoughtful and contingent. We talked about how mindless exercise can just build a fitter, frantic dog. So structure it.
How? What does contingent mean here?
It means the fun stuff, the high arousal stuff like fetching or chasing, happens contingent on a moment of calm or a known behavior. So before you throw the ball, ask for a sit or a down or even just a brief pause and eye contact.
Ah, so they have to offer a bit of self-control to get the reward.
Exactly. They learn to think through the excitement. And integrate calmer activities too. Scent work is fantastic for this. Hiding treats or kibble around the house or yard for them to sniff out. It's mentally taxing but inherently calming for most dogs.
So structure the playtime. Maybe some fetch, then some find it, then maybe some calm training, then more fetch.
Perfect. You're teaching them the off switch, not just revving the engine constantly. Exercise right arrow, calm down right arrow, calm down, build that rhythm.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, how do we start introducing those triggers again carefully?
Right. We need controlled exposure. That brings us to tip number 8, the Netflix and chill protocol. My term for it.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Netflix and chill for dogs.
Basically. It's about exposure, but done at a distance where the dog remains completely under threshold. So you take your dog somewhere, you know their triggers will be present, maybe a park with other dogs or a path where bikes go by, but you stay far enough away that your dog notices them, but doesn't react negatively.
How far is far enough?
Far enough that they can still comfortably take a treat, maybe even just a low-value kibble if they're too stressed to eat, you're too close. Find that distance. Then you just hang out, sit on a bench.
Or just chill.
Yep. You can feed occasional treats, maybe do some super low-key engagement like gentle petting if they enjoy that, or just let them watch the world go by. The key is nothing bad happens. And also, nothing overly exciting happens related to the trigger.
So the triggers just become background noise.
Exactly. They see the dog or the bike or the kids and they learn, oh, that thing exists, but it doesn't actually affect me. I don't need to lose my mind over it. It's passive desensitization. You're changing the emotional association from threat, excitement, to whatever.
That takes patience, I imagine.
It does. Lots of short, successful sessions are better than one long, stressful one. Keep it positive. Keep them under threshold.
Okay, Netflix and chill. Then how do we bridge that gap to real-life excitement?
That's tip number 9. Layer excitement into existing cues. This is where we start proofing. We teach the dog to stay responsive even when things get a bit crazy.
How do we do that safely?
You start home in a controlled environment. Pick 2 or 3 behaviors your dog knows really well when things are calm. Sit down, stay, maybe a ham target, get them solid.
Okay.
Then you start adding controlled bursts of your own excitement while asking for the cue. Maybe you do a couple of jumping jacks, then cue sit. Maybe you dance around a little, then cue down. You could toss a toy gently, then ask for a stay.
So I become the distraction, but in a predictable way.
Exactly. You are injecting controlled chaos. You might jog in place, talk in a silly high voice, hide behind a corner, and pop out. Get creative. The goal is to teach the dog, even when the energy around me goes up, my job is still to listen and respond to my cues. We call this being thoughtful in drive.
Thoughtful in drive. I like that phrase. It's not about suppressing the drive, but channeling it.
Precisely. They learn that excitement doesn't have to mean losing their head.
Okay, we're getting close to the end. What are the final pieces of the puzzle?
The last 2 focus on clarity and mindset. Tip number 10 is, clarity creates confidence. Dogs need predictability. They need to know the rules of the game.
What does that mean in practice?
It means being crystal clear about when a behavior starts and, crucially, when it ends, especially for control behaviors like stay or waiting at the door. Don't just let the behavior fizzle out. Use a specific release word.
Like okay or free.
Yep, or something even more specific to the context. Maybe search, if you've scattered treats for them to find as the reward for waiting. Or go play, if you're releasing them to chase a toy. Or get it. The word itself isn't magic, but using it consistently and only releasing them on that word teaches them exactly what's expected.
So they're not guessing, am I done yet? Can I go now?
Right. That uncertainty can actually increase anxiety. When they know the rules, I hold this position until I hear freezer or whatever your word is, that clarity builds immense confidence. And a confident dog is generally a calmer dog.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and the final tip, number 11.
Tip 11 is really two parts. Have an exit strategy and practice acceptance.
Exit strategy, what does that mean?
It means always having a plan for what to do if things go wrong. If you're out practicing your Netflix and chill and suddenly a trigger appears much closer than expected, or your dog unexpectedly reacts, don't just stand there and let them practice the meltdown. Your immediate job is to create distance.
Just turn and walk away.
Turn and walk calmly but quickly away. Move further from the trigger until your dog is back under threshold. Manage the situation to prevent failure. That's your non-negotiable exit strategy. Increase distance.
Okay, always be ready to retreat if needed. And the second part, acceptance.
Yeah, this ties back to the square peg, round hole idea. We have to accept the dog we have in front of us. If you have a high-energy, genetically driven dog, they might never be a perfectly placid couch potato, and that's okay.
So success isn't necessarily making them totally calm.
Success isn't forcing them into a mold that doesn't fit. Success is having a dog who can cope with excitement, who can respond to your cues even when they are feeling aroused or distracted. It's about building responsiveness and resilience, not eliminating their personality. Love the dog you have, work with their nature, not against it.
That's a great perspective. So to recap the big ideas, manage our own calm, become that anchor, understand the roots of the behavior, genetics, diet, frustration, avoid triggers initially while building skills, condition-specific calm behaviors, make exercise thoughtful, use controlled exposure like Netflix and chill, proof known cues with added excitement, be crystal clear with communication, and finally, have that exit plan and accept the dog's nature.
That sums it up perfectly. It's a process, definitely. And probably the biggest hurdle for most people is shifting their own expectations. We have to bridge the gap between what we expect the dog to do and the actual education and conditioning we've provided.
It's less about stopping the excitement.
And more about teaching them how to handle it, how to stay connected and responsive while they're feeling it. That combination of responsiveness and managed excitement leads to a dog who is ultimately more confident and, paradoxically, often calmer overall.
That's a powerful reframe. Before we wrap up, any final thought for listeners who are really struggling with this?
Sis, think about what it feels like for the dog. Living in a state of chronic high arousal, constantly being flooded with stress hormones. That's not just mentally taxing, it takes a physical toll over time. Helping your dog learn to manage that excitement, to find that off switch, isn't just about better walks or less embarrassment for you. It's fundamentally about improving their quality of life, potentially even impacting their long-term health and how they age. Starting with your calm anchor today is the first step towards that healthier, happier state for both of you.